Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those who are watching online. I'm pleased to see such a big crowd today and a lot of familiar faces and some new faces. So, welcome to the Stimson Center. I am Jenny Town. I am a senior fellow here at the Stimson Center and director of our 38 North program. And I'm pleased today to be able to feature a panel composed of scholars from the North Korean Leaders Assembly. It's a program bringing together emerging North Korean escapees and professionals working on human rights and unification. So welcome to you all. Um, and really, to set the stage for today's discussion, we have to understand that North Korea today is not the North Korea of the Kim Il sung era or of the Kim Jong il era. Under Kim Jong un, we've seen rapid and pervasive changes that have the potential to be transformative, although coupled with the regime's countermeasures to limit their impact. A couple critical trends, especially since Kim Jong un came to power, have really worked to shape how the younger generations in particular view their situation, their ambitions, and their options in an evolving North Korea. First and foremost is the enormous expansion and integration of markets over the years. And while this started as a post-famine response to the regime's failures to provide for the people, the regime's acceptance and integration of market activity and personal wealth accumulation as a normal part of everyday life has been most pronounced under Kim Jong-un. This means now generations have learned that the principles that they can do for themselves, that they can work hard and make money to create a better life for themselves. And while the regime has worked to curb some of those opportunities in recent years, especially since the pandemic, the seeds of ambition have already been planted. And while the people can weather the crackdowns that they've become used to, those dreams will persist. Another trend has been the cell phone boom, creating more ways for people to communicate, at least amongst each other, of course, under strict controls as well. And this digital convenience had guardrails built in from the beginning, many of which have been documented in great detail by our researchers here at 38 North. But the advancements of this technology, especially within the past 5 years, has brought some surprising revelations about accelerating modernization in North Korea. We have released a number of reports in recent months about how sophisticated and competitive North Korea's smartphones have become. Everything from e-commerce to medicine deliveries to government services and ration vouchers to metro payments to games. These conveniences that the rest of the world has had for a while are now available and used in North Korea too. And just yesterday, Martin published a piece looking at the proliferation of e-payment apps and the use of virtual currency within the country to pay for everyday goods, as even North Korea works towards more digital money transactions. And so while data collection and controls have also adapted to these new realities, it does reflect an increasingly digitally savvy constituency in the country, beyond its cyber and crypto forces that we hear so much about. So North Korea is, of course, still one of the most difficult information environments to work with draconian laws prohibiting outside information access and consumption, and a complete lack of personal freedoms. Many efforts have been pursued over the years to reach the people and provide them with news and information about and from the world around them. This has also been influential, with many defectors having cited some form of outside information infiltration as a main source of inspiration to defect. But as we know, reaching the North Korean people today has in many ways become more difficult. Its human surveillance mechanisms have been bolstered, especially since the pandemic era, by increased border security and controls, crackdowns on markets and rent-seeking activities, introduction of higher punishments for accessing and distributing outside information, and the proliferation of digital data collection and surveillance capabilities. So many of the old methods of getting information to the North Korean people have become less effective or even obsolete amid these changing conditions and really require us to think differently about our options. Today, a new generation of North Koreans who grew up with a hybrid awareness of markets, technology, and illicit foreign media is driving a quiet paradigm shift against the regime's extreme tightening of ideological controls. And we're truly delighted to feature some of their voices here today to discuss these internal dynamics, information influx, and visions for North Korea's future. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Martin Williams, who's a senior fellow here at Stimson's 38 North and one of the leading experts on North Korea's technological revolution. He'll be moderating the panel today, and I look forward to the discussion. So Martin.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And thank you again for coming here today, or if you're watching online. Jenny said most of the interesting stuff, so I'm not going to repeat that, but I find this a really fascinating subject. It's an area that I spend a lot of time researching, but one of the most important things in all of the research is listening to the voices of people that have experienced it for themselves, rather than simply looking from the outside, which is why I'm so excited that we have this panel here today. I'm going to briefly introduce the panelists, and then they're going to make some remarks for a few minutes, and then we'll be taking some questions. If you are watching online, it is stimson.org/questions. You can submit questions there, and obviously we'll also be taking questions in the room. So first of all, on the far side of the stage here is Hyung-Sung Lee. He's founder of the North Korea Young Leaders Assembly, which is the group why we're gathered here today, and also works as a lead strategist at the Global Peace Foundation. I've known Hyung-Sung for quite a long time, actually. He is a North Korean escapee and has become quite an influential policy strategist because of his first-hand knowledge in North Korea's military, youth leadership, and international trade networks. He was a sergeant in the North Korean elite special forces and was a chairman of the Kim Il-sung Socialist Youth League in Dalian in China, where he was actively involved in some of the regime's overseas trade operations, particularly in the shipping and mining sectors with China. Following the political purges after the execution of Jang Sung-taek, Hyun-Sung defected in late 2014, and since then he's emerged as a prominent advocate for North Korean human rights, and that is why we're here today. He's spoken a lot. He speaks a lot in DC. He's spoken at the United Nations, and he does a lot of work with North Korean escapee groups. So we're pleased to have him here today. Sitting next to him is Gum-hyuk Kim. He is a Fulbright scholar at the University of Washington and currently a spokesperson for the People Power Party. He was born in Pyongyang in 1991, and he was raised as a member of the country's elite class. Living in Pyongyang is very different from living in the rest of the North Korea, as we know. He went to Kim Il-sung University, and he went to Beijing in 2010. It was in Beijing where he had conversations with Western students, and he got access to the internet, that he first started learning about the truths of North Korea and some of the things that had been hidden from him as a member of the elite class in Pyongyang. He began secretly discussing North Korean human rights and democracy with fellow North Korean students, hoping to lay the groundwork for transforming the country into a more normal country. When they were discovered, he fled to South Korea in 2012 to avoid arrest. Today, he's also a prominent voice on North Korean issues, a TV news commentator, and an analyst at Radio Free Asia. He's also, and this is what I'm most jealous of, a YouTube creator with over 150,000 subscribers. And then finally, Ji-Kyung Kim is a researcher and Fulbright scholar at the University of Illinois, Chicago. She's a graduate student in education at the university. She comes from Haesan, which is right on the North Korean border with China. And she escaped with her young son in 2016 following the severe economic hardship caused by the currency reforms of 2009. After resettling in South Korea, she overcame an extremely limited elementary level education that she received in North Korea to excel academically, earning multiple awards and leadership recognition. Her current research focuses on literacy development, reading difficulties, and education equity for students from diverse and marginalized backgrounds. She's also an active public speaker and advocate, raising awareness about the realities of North Korean escapees and human rights in North Korea. So with that, I think we're going to start with Hyung-Sung.
All right. Thank you, Martin, for kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. First of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone here, and especially Stimson Center leadership and Jenny Tan, Martin, and Kate, and Ilya, who helped us to putting this together. Um, as Martin introduced me, I'm an escapee, and I left North Korea October 2014 because of the brutal executions in North Korea happened 2013 and 14. My family decided to leave North Korea because we believe that the current regime is not the regime we expected, we wanted, and the leadership is very inhuman. Leadership that executes people, oppress the people. So we decided to escape. So before that, I wanna say about the what is North Korean Unionist Assembly, what North Korean Unionist Assembly is. So in 2023, we established a group called North Korean Unionist Assembly, and the reason we uh, established this group is during the work I'm doing in DC, I found out that our escapist voice is not enoughly delivered to the U.S. leadership and international community. Even we have some resources and information and experience interpreted by other people like Martin and researchers and the Korean Americans who do Korean scholars in Korea, but not enough to share our direct message, direct information with the people. And also, I think when it comes to new the North Korea, and I think we need a people who who is ready to take over, who is ready to leading the new country and new leadership in North Korea. We don't think the brutal dictatorship won't last forever. So we want to be prepared for the new changes, new leadership. So that's why each year we brought 10 to 12 young escapees to US, and we having meetings with the US leadership, government agencies, and UN leaders. So let my members to experience what looks like, what is discussing international stage about North Korea, what US politics, US laws, how they make this possible for the North Korean policies. So I want them experience directly, and also the US policymakers, influencers listen to our voices directly. So we want to make as a mutual benefit for all of us. So the basic idea is why we established North Carolina Assembly. And today's topic, I think we um, bring here today, I really think this is really important, more important than nuclear issue. And information is not just abstract, and is my personal experience as well. So I'm gonna share a little bit about my experience, how I did access information in North Korea and China and other people. So the first time I accessed the foreign information, I think when I was 15, uh, it was at 1997. So we I joined the Pyongyang University of Foreign Language School, Pyongyang Foreign Language School, which is under Pyongyang University of Foreign Studies. So I joined a high school, and we have the students who came from overseas. They already went to outside with their family members, especially Latin America and the Middle East. And suddenly I went to his home, and suddenly my friend showed me a music video from outside. I still remember the name of the music video, and the one was the Michael Jackson's "Heal the World" and Britney Spears' "Baby One More Time" and Backstreet Boys' "As Long as You Love Me." So those music videos like striking, like I was like stunning, and then um, the first song was stunning, and the second song was, their hairstyle, the dressing was so unsocialistic and unsocialism. The way we heard was this is anti-socialism, so we shouldn't follow, we shouldn't envy any of these. So I was rejecting it, and then but the melody and then the lyrics was absolutely good. And so but my English was not good, so I asked my friend who went to overseas. I think he went to Germany, but his English is much better than mine, even though I studied English in my high school. So he, gave me a note that the lyrics of the Heal the World. So, memorizing that. So after several years that the I accessed the U.S. information, Hollywood movies, and then music videos. Oh, by the way, the first movie Hollywood movie I accessed was the Titanic. So it was really, really spread out at the time, 1997, 1998. And after that, suddenly, early 2000, the South Korean K-dramas flew into North Korea. And all the Pyongyang, citizens, they are crying with this South Korean emotional dramas. The Winter Sonata and Autumn, what was that? Well, hold on. Yeah, the fairy tale of the autumn. So everybody was in that mood. And when I asked my friends, they said that they all watched it. And then some of them expressed that it was the first feeling they had, like in our North Korea's the music and culture industry, we don't have much feeling about the love and also about different concept of the love. All our the lyrics, the songs, and then documentation and publications are love from the leadership, from the great leader, and loyalty to the great leader and the country and the party. But this is first the concept we accessed, like the human and the man and female, male and female, the pure love about that. So it was really striking me and other people. And suddenly the North Korean regime find out that people are into South Korean dramas. So they adopted control mechanism, and eventually I don't think they were successful, but they were, very good at controlling, especially in North Korean system. So in 2005, I was at the time I was at the military, and then but my high school mates they all advanced to Kim Il Sung University and Pyongyang University of Foreign Studies, and I heard that I came back from my military vacation, and when I went to the university, the college, and I heard that almost 200 students were caught by the police because of watching South Korean dramas and Hollywood movies. So everyone was escorted to the police cell, and then they were interrogated, and they had to say someone's name who shared the information. If you don't share any name, they will beat you down, and then they won't release that person from the cell. So everyone say one name who share the information. So that circle like almost 200 people. And 200 students share the information, and eventually they caught. And finally, I think two of them were sent to the Polka prison camp, and then three of my friends, my high school mates, were sent to the 6 months forced labor. So and then I talked to them. So when they came back from 6 months forced labor, I talked to them. So what did you guys share? So they said basically K dramas, and it was so unfortunate, but um, the regime couldn't punish all of them because they are all like elite kids and Pyongyang citizens, and not just young people. And the family members of these young people all watched the K dramas and other informations. So the information uh, was really really influential to entire city in Pyongyang. I'm sure not just in Pyongyang city, but spread out the entire North Korea. So that was a big incident when I was in North Korea. And then soon after discharging from my military service, I had a chance to study in China. So I moved to China in early 2006, and then first day I arrived in my apartment home. So uh, surprisingly, internet was available. So I accessed it, and then someone told me neighbor.com, neighbor, the South Korea's Google is you can find anything on there. So I searched it, Kim Jong Il, Kim Il Sung, and how people sees North Korea, and it's totally different information what I learned from North Korea. So I kind of doubt that this is real or not, because what we educated from North Korea before I dispatched China, we had a session that you shouldn't believe anything from the internet. You shouldn't, take it serious, because it is all fabricated data information by CIA and the South Korean intelligence service. So you have to, doubt it, and you can, first, from the beginning, you shouldn't access the internet. But no one is keeping the rules by North Korean regime, because the internet is so new, and it is like an entire different world to us. So we secretly access internet and watch dramas and news, and so. But I was a member of North Korean Workers' Party. I just recently discharged from the military, so I was keep rejecting the information I saw on the internet, and eventually I think it took me 3 years to integrated and then integrate finally to my brain that what North Korean regime told us or educated us was all fake. So um, I it was my internal struggle, like, and then the brain the brain structure we were formatted in North Korea was totally different, right? We believe that North Korea is the best country in the world. Our dear leader is the best leader in the world. He is so respected by the world, but entire information outside is totally different. So was an internal brain struggle. So should I believe this or not? So that's but eventually I admit that North Korean regime lied to us, but still it's not enough to me to make a big move. We have to think about the family members. If I say something wrong about North Korea, entire family members will be punished. So I can do anything. And then every time I return back to North Pyongyang from North Korea, my friends asked me, "Hey, what looks like a China?" Because they heard China is good, and then we can access the internet. So they keep asking about the internet and keep asking about the China's development, especially 2008. China made a massive economic development because of Beijing Olympic. So they keep asked, and then I couldn't share the whole real story, because if I share something good about China and South Korea, and it could endanger my family and myself. So I keep repeating that, just to stay what you have here, just to believe what North Korean regime said. But sometimes I brought the dramas, and I shared with the people. So I don't want them like risky uh, of the risk. I don't want them risk of their lives and the family members, but I'm still the desire to share information what I have is so inside is too big. So I had a internal the conflict, but I shared. So that was a pretty much like life in China, and in 2013 there was a big the executions. So we eventually made escape, and um, when I after I escaped, I still maintained communication with some people in China and North Korea, and I asked recent a transformation of the access, how people watch dramas and access information, and Martin would be the best person who elaborate all the digital development in North Korea, technology, but s- people are keep evolving. I mean, not evolving. People are keep developing their means for the access to internet and access to information. Obviously, there is no one can access internet in North Korea. Some research groups say that elite groups access internet. No, no, there is no way any elite or even like a top people except the Kim family members no one can access internet. The only people who can access internet are like foreigners in North Korea, and those people who monitors foreign media, and then national security agents who trying to analyze the foreign relations, and then those hackers who do mission hacking or the information stealing. They have a designated places, and then also those when the hackers do hack, they are monitored by everybody as well. So there's no one person are free from accessing the real internet. So um, so the information access in the internet access in North Korea is not that you know fancy what we expected here now. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is when we bring information and North Korean people are find a way to watch and read, and sometimes we are reluctant to give information to them because North Korea adopted a laws and then punish people, even they executed people watching South Korean dramas. But um, the executions happened in the past when I was there too, but still people are trying to watch the news and dramas because I think that this is human instinct, human nature to want a new things. So um, that's why I'm saying that North Korean people are keep developing their ideas and means to access information. And then I'm happy to discuss more about the technology and advancement, how North Korean people access internet during our Q&A session. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Kumchuk.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Jenny, and thank you, 38 North and NKYLA, and thank you, Martin. I actually prepared my introduction myself, but your introduction about me was very wonderful, so I don't need to do it again. So thank you. My name is Kim Kim. I was born and raised in Pyongyang, and I left North Korea in 2012. Today I'm a Fulbright scholar, and this fall, exactly September, I will begin a master degree at International Studies focused on East Asia at the University of Washington. And the generation I will speak about over the next 10 minutes, the philosophical and identity transformation of North Korea's new generation. And it's not a subject I study from the outside. It is my own generation, like Hyun-sung and I and Ji-hang. So before we talking about the digital and new generation in North Korea, let me start by defining what the new generation of North Korea actually is. In terms of timing, it means those born after the 1990s. And in terms of identity, it means the generation that stands farthest from North Korea's traditional ideology. The generation that carries both of these traits is what we call the Jangmadang generation or the digital generation. I know everybody in this room are very experts in North Korean issues, so you guys have plenty of ideas and information about Jangmadang. So let me just briefly introduce about Jangmadang, very short. Jangmadang is a North Korean market system. As many of you know, it first appeared in North Korea society in the late 1990s during the arduous march. The state's own name for the famine of that decade. It went through a period of explosive growth and was formally legalized in July 2002 under Kim Jong-il's economic management reforms. At its core, it is a market system where an individual can build up at least a little wealthy through their own effort. Before the Jangmadang, North Korean society controlled private property tightly, and ordinary people, apart from the privileged class, survived mostly through the state distribution system. That system that broken down under a series of pressures and the regime's inability to manage the crisis and the sharp shift in the external environment and the absence of any other internal alternative. So it ended in this tragedy we called the Great Famine or Arduous March. Having barely survived the starvation of the Arduous March, people looked for a way to sustain themselves instead of relying on the state collapse distribution system. The path they chose was to build markets and where prices are set by supply and demand and to accumulate wealthy through effort and trading skills. That was the Zhangmadang. And I wanted to stress one more that Zhangmadang was not the product of economic reform handled down by the North Korean regime. It was created solely by the North Korean people's sheer willing to survive. So the Zhangmadang generation is the generation shaped by all of this. Put simply, my generation watched the North Korea state fail to function. And we watched many of our friends starve to death. So our trust in the North Korean authorities is, from the start, far weaker than it's among the older generation. At the same time, through the Zhangmadang, we saw, with our own eyes, our parents working desperately to feed their families. And from childhood, we understood that the one feeding us and clothing us was not the state, but our parents' labor. So in the end, my generation feels a stronger attachment to family than the loyalty to the state and blind obedience to the party that North Korea constantly demands. So it is the generation that learned over many years that to survive, you have to be loyal not to the state, but to the market. So there is one more thing that makes this generation, this digital generation, truly distinctive. It is Hallyu, the Korean wave. As the Zhangmadang grew explosively, the flow of outside information and goods and culture rhythmed along with it. So, and the spread of Korean wave brought with it the spread of devices needed to consume it. Small DVD players and cell phones and USB sticks and SD card and portable media players. The generation that handled these new devices fast and more fluently was the teenagers and young adults of their time, because teenagers were very fascinated in any other new culture, and they are really fast and they learn very fast and they can understand very fast. So under their parents who had, unlike their parents who had no time because they were very busy in the market because they have to feed their family. But the generation, the digital generation or Zhangmadang generation, they had time to consume it. And so paradoxically, the main consumers of the Korean wave was that swept North Korea in the early 2000s. And the ones who spread it were exactly this group, Zhangmadang generation. This is why we are also called the digital generation too. The traits I described earlier, the absence of loyalty of the state, the pull toward family and toward individual met Korean wave and these new devices and produced something that had never existed in North Korea before, an entirely new social group. By experiencing the Korean wave regularly, my generation gained bit by bit a picture of a different world. It was easy enough to see what our textbook taught us was not the truth. And watching how South Koreans live so it is so hard to pronounce, overwhelmingly better than us. And we let ourselves dream that we too could live in that way, right? So that longing for the different world, then that dream of living well since once is the ideological deviation the North Korean authorities fear most. There is no concrete evidence that Zhangmadang generation is mounting any clear organized like resistance the young people did, what young people did in Hong Kong or Nepal. But look at how the North Korean authorities respond, even in the absence of any single like triggering event, moving hard to control the young generation. It tells us that the regime too is afraid of this. Let me share something very interesting, a little bit interesting. Based, based purely on my own experience, among the many North Korean defectors who have resettled in South Korea, like Jihan or any other like fellows in this room, they are really good at uh, studying, and they are really good at like becoming South Korean easily, rather than their old generation. So in South Korea, among like 35 thousands of people, North Korean escapees living in South Korea. But when we see them in general, like generationally, the younger generation, especially 20s and 30s, they are really good at like becoming normal South Korean. In their accent, we couldn't find any other North Korean style accent. And their like study, like for example, we have lawyer here, future lawyer, law school student, and we have dentist here, we have Fulbright here, and we have leaders here, and we have like therapists here. So all these people are very genuinely smart, and they have like such a huge capability to build up everything what they want. So for in this example, we can also see how young North Korean people who live in North Korea, if they had some opportunity, or if they have something like information about their life, new life, then we couldn't imagine how they could develop their life very fast. So these things influence North Korean regime too, and they are afraid of this like change. To come back to my main point, this is exactly what Kim Jong-un fears. A Jangmadang generation already structurally estranged from the North Korean system once it comes face to face with South Korea's culture, politics, and society, and we see its curiosity and its like hunger for indifferent world expand explosively. And this fear is not something I am inferring. Kim Jong-un has pointed in the public more than once, and he has done so openly. At the Eighth Party Congress in January 2021, he said the struggle against anti-socialist and non-socialist elements was more urgent than ever, and he compared the force eating away at the country's ideology and unity to a like malignant tumor. He vowed that cut it out like surgically and without hesitation. The following year, in an October 2022 speech at the Mangyeongdae Revolutionary School, he ordered that non-socialist elements, meaning outside culture, must not step in even by the right of a needle tip. And picture that. So the supreme leader of a country talking about the tip of needle over the dreams his own young people are watching. And that fear now reached even young, like young people of his own party, like young, maybe like officials of his own party. In June 2026, in a speech like marking the 18th anniversary of Central Cadre Training School, Kim Jong-un said the younger officials increasingly differ from the old generation in their like inner world and their character. They lack party discipline, he said, and their sensitivity are not those of the generation before them. Those who place like material and economic concerns above ideology, and he dismissed as good for nothing. This is the proof that his fear and frustration with the Jangmadang generation is now spreading even into the ranks of his own party officials, right? So, alongside these statements, a series of Repressive law has been built to control this generation across the board. The most notable being the revolutionary ideology and cultural rejection law and Pyongyang cultural language protection law. In other words, the reaction of North Korean authorities can be read by a kind of hysteria, and that the begin in fear. So let me close with that younger generation of North Korean needs right now. What they need right now. Right now, they are fighting a lonely battle. So what I am offering you here is not a plea for sympathy. It is strategic argument. This generation, my generation, is real, and it is large, and it's worldwide has already begun to separate from the states. What they need now is the support and attention of the international community. They live in a situation where watching a single South Korean drama or listening a single South Korean song can cost them their lives. The international community must take their hands, and so that their curiosity about a different world is not extinguished by the control of the North Korean authorities. I ask you to press the North Korean authorities hard to repeal the laws that oppress the younger generation, and to turn your support and your attention towards getting more information into their hands. Thank you.
Thank,
Yeah,
go ahead,
please.
go ahead. Thank you so much. Your wonderful, insightful speech today. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank the Stimson Center and 38 North for organizing amazing events today. And thank you all for taking time to be here today. I'm truly honored to be here with sharing my story today. I just titled my speech today. It's called Beyond Information Access, from Collective Learning to Collective Agency. Today, I would like to speak from two positions at once. First, as someone who was born and raised inside North Korea, and second, as an education researcher who is interested in how people learn, adapt, and develop agency under difficult social conditions. When we talk about North Korea, the conversation often begins with the nuclear weapons, sanctions, and military threats or regime stability. But those are important issues. But if we only look at North Korea through the lens of state security, we miss another crucial questions. How do ordinary people survive, adapt, and make meanings under a system that does not protect them? The question begins us to human security. Human security asks us to shift our attention from the security of the states to the security of human beings. So their food, health, and livelihood, dignity, rights, and also future possibilities. In North Korea context, this shift is essential, as they may appear strong military while its people remain profoundly insecure in their daily lives. Today, I would like to make one central argument. North Korea's young generation should not be understood only through the lens of victimhood or repression. To understand this generation, we must recognize the market situation and expanding flows of outside information transformed not only how young people survived, but also how they learned, compared, and questioned and imagined different possibilities for their lives. I came to understand this not first through the books or research, but through my own life. I was born and raised in Hesan, a border city in Yangon province near China. Growing up there, I learned very early that survival did not depend only on the states, official institutions. It depends on people, family members, neighbors, and traders, information networks, and relations of trust. This became especially clear after North Korea's 2000 currency reform. For many families, including myself, that moment was not just economic policy failure, it was a human security crisis. Savings disappeared, prices rose dramatically, food became more difficult to access. People who were already vulnerable became even more exposed. But what I remember most is not only suffering, I also remember adaptation. People did not choose those circumstances, but within them, they learned how to survive. People found ways to survive through markets. They traded, they negotiated, and they moved goods. But market did more than move goods. They moved information, trust, and comparison. And when foreign media entered those informal networks, young people were exposed not only to outside entertainment, but to outside ways of living, speaking, thinking, and imagining possibilities. They also learned how to read the gap between the official narratives and lived reality. I was the one of them. In the market where I grew up in Hesan, South Korean dramas and foreign movies were never displayed openly. Like Hyunsung and Gemeng mentioned earlier, I watched South Korean dramas when I was in elementary school.
Elementary school?
Yes, I did. Because I lived in a city like bordered with China, so we were relatively easily to get the medias than other cities. So I watched a lot of dramas and then also like movies, South Korean movies, and I was taught in the school like we are the weirdest country ever in the world. And then when I first saw the South Korean movies, I was so shocked by the house they live in. And then they were so wild. So the house was like three stairs, like three stages of very big, looks like a castle. But the main character owned the company, so he has a lot of money. So he has like a servant and then also like a housemate, everything. So I was taught the people in South Korea was so poor, so we need to help them, and then we need to rescue them from the under the South Korean government. But it was not. So I was, who are lying to us? What is the truth? That was the first very striking experience. And then there was an entire informal supply chain for the medias, and then also information through the smuggling. Some people copied videos onto blank CDs and DVD in large quantities. Others distributed to retailers, while smaller sellers handled everything themselves. From copying to selling, like any market, they competed over prices and customers. The same was true for South Korean cosmetics and other prohibited goods. Like, for example, like a rice cooker from South Korea, it was really not only just famous, it was really popular, even though we don't have enough electricity. They were hidden in the bags or in their like backstage of their vendor. Only like is shown after you can get the products only you show your trust to them, or like someone just introduce me to the sellers. And oh, I lost. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I have also cuckoo babseo in
Cuckoo.
Korea.
That was
great.
yeah, that is the best. So none of this could function without trust in the market. As those informal networks expanded, foreign media spread alongside everyday commerce. Young people were exposed not only to South Korean dramas, but also different ways of living, speaking, and thinking. This is why I think marketization in North Korea should not be understood only as an economic trend. The market becomes an informal classroom. Without ever hearing the term market economy, people learned through the experience that prices respond to supply and demand, that reputation has value, that trust enables exchange, and that reality can contradict ideology. In that sense, marketization was not only economic transformation, it was also social and educational one. Once purchased those CD and DVD or USB, we were usually played on Note-tel, a hybrid of notebook computer and television. You can play the CD or its customized CD player. In a country where electricity was unreliable, the device required relatively little power and could be hidden easily during the surprise inspections. This made it an ideal technology for the informal circulation of foreign media. Accessing foreign media was therefore not only passive experience. It requires people to build trusted network and manage risk, and also actively seek out information that the state tried to suppress. This matters because it challenges a simple narrative of North Korea as a passive victims. Of course, North Koreans are victims of deeply oppressive political system. That should not be minimized. But they are not only victims. They are also learners, interpreters, and organizers, negotiators, and problem solvers in everyday life. This is where I found Professor Gerard Campano's idea of agency as collectivity. He is an educational theorist, and I thought I can apply his idea into North Korean human rights. In many Western discussion, agency is often imagined as individual independence. One person making choices, asserting freedom, and also acting alone. But in his idea, his work helps us to see like agency differently. Agency can be produced collectively through relationships, shared stories, and community knowledge, and mutual responsibilities. This lens is powerful to understanding North Korea's young generation as well. Their adaptability didn't come to simply from individual entrepreneurship. It came from collective survival practices. People learned from one another. For example, like as Hyunsung and Keun mentioned, like we can share not only the medias, we can share our thoughts, how we perceive the world, or like how we can like change before and after we watch the videos and information. So when we say that North Korean youth are economically adaptable, we should ask adaptable through what, through whom, under what conditions. The answer is not simply the market. The answer is social networks, shared knowledge, and collective agency. The distinction is important for policy. If we describe marketization only as the growth of private economic activity, then we may focus on the money, goods, or trade. But if we understand marketization as a transformation in social learning and collective agency, then we begin to see something deeper. Those Koreans have already developed the forms of practical knowledge that could become important foundation for future change. However, I want to be very clear. Adaptability should not be romanticized. The fact that people adapt does not mean they are secure or free. The fact that people survive does not mean they are free. And the fact that markets exist does not mean human security has been achieved. In North Korea, marketization has created opportunities, but it also created new vulnerabilities as well. People may earn income through markets, but they often do so without legal protection, without political rights, without stable access to healthcare, and also under constant fear of surveillance or punishment. If, for example, like I sell the videos on the market, and then if I got arrested, it could be a problem. It's a huge problem. You could I can't risk my life in my business. So the punishment and surveillance are very scary. So we need to have the trust each other between sellers and buyers. I would like to mention women and children, especially in the market, because many, like including me, I helped my mom to sell the products in the market. So there are so many, like in the market, there are mostly like the sellers were mostly women and children. So we need to be very careful to when we send the information to North Korea as well. So we should not confuse survival strategy with justice. This is one of the central tensions I want to emphasize today. Marketization has expanded people's capacity to access information, but it has not guaranteed their human security. Why? Because access to markets or information alone does not necessarily enable people to make informed choices, participate meaningfully in society, or shape their own futures. As an educator researcher, I study literacy because it I see it is one of the foundation of human security. Literacy is not merely the ability to read words on a page. It is the capacity to interpret the information and evaluate competing claims and communicates with others and imagine alternative possibilities. From this perspective, literacy is not simply an academic skills, it is a condition for agency. And if we connect this to Campana's idea of agency as collectivity, literacy also becomes collective practice. A way communities make sense of information together, question dominant narratives, supports one another, and imagine different futures. It has major implication for how we think about North Korea future. If change comes to Korean Peninsula, the question will not be only how we build the economy. It will also be how to rebuild the trust, civic participation, and education opportunity and democratic capacity. A society cannot be transformed only through infrastructure. It also needs people who can think critically, participate meaningfully, and learn together. For North Korea's young generation, this is especially important. Many of them have already learned how to navigate uncertainty and also learned adaptability. But adaptability under repression is not the same preparation for freedom. Freedom requires more than absence of control. It requires a capacity to use one's voice and interpret information, engage with others, and participate in shaping community life. This is where human security, marketization, and education come together. Marketization shows us. Okay, just let me wrap it up all together. So the main point I want to make was not only just access information can change North Korea inside of North Korea. So how we can like the contents will also important as equal as access to information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our three panelists here. We're going to open the floor up for questions now. If you're watching online, a reminder that it is stimson.org/questions. Already some questions coming in. I thought it was fascinating to hear from the three of you. Obviously, experiences from the same country, but very different experiences based on the time that you were there and also where you were in the country, and then also in some cases outside of the country as well. It was interesting, Hyung-sung, you said that information will get in, and I think we heard that later in some of the other testimony that we heard. You talked about the punishments that people were receiving, but also that you were still consuming this information despite the punishment, which I think shows the strength of information and the thirst for information that people have. And I thought it was also interesting, later we heard about the markets and this sort of information gap that exists with the markets and foreign content showing you that it wasn't necessarily the state that was delivering everything for you, that people were doing things for themselves, and that wasn't something that you were necessarily taught, but something that you figured out yourselves. So again, information as a tool, not just to teach people things, but to lead them to make their own conclusions, which I think is very valuable as well. We'll open it up to questions now. If anyone in the room has one, there's a hand down the back there. If you could briefly just say who you are and then your question, and if it's directed to anyone in particular.
Sounds good. I'm Adam Khan. I'm running for mayor of Washington, D.C. in the upcoming November elections. A compelling critic can be made that decades of Western isolationism, blanket US sanctions, and external threats have inadvertently given Pyongyang the ultimate pretext to justify this total surveillance state that you're describing. Has Western policy actually empowered the Kim regime to tighten its ideological grip and build the very digital fortress that you're describing? And if so, how can we break that cycle?
Does anyone want to take that on? Yeah.
Thanks for the questions. I cannot deny that the Western policy impact Kim regime's the tightening control, but the regime, the structure, the regime itself designed to control people, whether it's external threat, external, the policy, so or not. So the regime is only available or survivable because they are running reign of fear. So the reason Kim Jong-un during the COVID time, they blocked the border. Even like every country opened their border to trade and exchange, individuals traveling each other. But Kim Jong-un, after the COVID, himself blocked the border and isolate the country from the world. And it made himself self-sanctioned. So we are so surprised how he can be survived, how he can run the country. But he has some mechanism to sustain this country only elite level or he's the strategy. So in the past, North Korea's main source of revenue was natural trade resources trading, and then other the border, the trade. But after the COVID, Kim find out that sanctioned by the United Nations, the U.S. natural resources trade is not possible. So they shifted the strategy to make money through cyber hacking. So he made cyber hacking and sent a 100,000 people to China and Russia, make hard currency through their labors. So he developed a different strategy making revenues. But those revenue, the money directly go into North Korea, not helping the people inside. It's only contributing the regime, not like in the past, the natural resources trading are impacted other industry, like the people who worked at the port, who work as a driver to delivering natural resources to the port and then inside, and those crew members shipping to natural resources to China and other countries. So it is slightly beneficial to other industry and people, but this cyber hacking directly goes to Kim Jong-un's pocket, and the labor force, the forced labor in China and Russia, they only receive less than 10% of the payment, monthly payment, and even if those payments are on their ledger, not the cash in their hand. So basically, regime extract all the resources from the people. So Kim is comfortable with those money. So he has confidence, I can isolate the country and can run the people's life there without there is sanction or not. So I may assess this like this is more internal, strategy, and then internal strategy. So in the past, I encouraged the U.S. government and South Korea and other administration. We need to emphasize reform and openness of North Korea. We keep pressuring them to open the country, and some people asked how, but so there's some mutual interest with China and United States. China, surprisingly, for the past 3 decades, they pressed North Korea to open and reform economy, like at least Chinese model. So I think that's, I mean, for the starting point, that's good enough for North Korea. So US can collaborate with China that China, you should press North Korea to open more aggressively. I think Kim won't listen to Chinese leadership right now, but still, it's important to pressure Kim to do more open the country and then do it can make it as a normal the responsible state.
You were talking about the sort of how the benefits of some of what the North Korean government used to do would spread to other people in the economy.
Mm-hmm.
You were given the example of the docks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a question online about the spread of smartphones and all of the new services that are being enabled by smartphones. Is that going hand in hand with economic growth and regional wealth? So are all of these new systems helping wealth outside of the capital? And if they are, if they aren't, how are people around the country affording phones? We see a lot of North Koreans with phones these days. The phones are quite expensive. They're hundreds of dollars each, but we see probably millions of people with them. Where's all that wealth coming from? How's this working?
So according to the official record, amount of like 27% of North Korean people already have their smartphone, not only smartphone, but just phones. And I don't know the exact number, how many people have smartphone, like which is like very developed device. But the fact is, like, yeah, like uncountable people in North Korea, they already use their smartphone system. And also North Korean government, North Korean authority, they develop their like controlling smartphone system like every day. They update it every day to monitoring system. So the problem and the curiosity about how because North Korea is considered as one of the poor country in the world. And as you mentioned, the people who living in like outside of Pyongyang, they seem like have any other options to earn money, but they have the smartphones. Yeah, that is also my question too. But yeah, when we don't need to see North Korea as a normal state. North Korea is very like complicated country, and we couldn't like chase how they can make their own money, because even like in 2023, Kim Jong-un announced that like every like workers and every laborers can get like maybe 25 times of like their expended money, like payment and monthly, but still it is not enough to buy. So the reality is the smuggling system and the corruption is very widely spread in North Korea. So we couldn't find any other like specific resource and specific region how can they earn money, but we could realize that because of the corruption system and because of the very complicated smuggling system in North Korea, North Korean people found out their own way to survive, not rely on North Korea's government, but they found out their own life system to earn money. But we couldn't know what is it. Yeah.
I think I could add more about the smuggling system and then also the North Korean defectors outside of North Korea. So, for example, like many of my friends, they came to South Korea by themselves without their family, and they still have families behind them in North Korea. So they send money. They send money like every I think twice a year, or sometimes like once a year. Like just like I heard that is a big source of like the transaction in North Korea. Like, so if they receive the money, the families in North Korea, they split it with families. So the money sent from South Korea, it can help like not only like one family member, like whole family. So also like relatives and also the domestic economy. So I heard that, so it could contribute the source of money inside North Korea.
And there is one thing behind in that question, and that is like 3 years ago, the average North Korean workers' payment per month was only like $2 or $3. And at the time, the smartphone in North Korea that's costs over like $700, right? How could they buy? And why North Korean government decide to supply this device for North Korean people? Because even they know they can get only $2 per month, right? So there is a group of people really exist in North Korea. and we call them donju, and we call them like middle, like social class. And the reason why North Korean government decided to develop their smartphone system and sell smartphones in the market is because they need money from that social class. Even they don't like this situation because they are not controlled by the government. Government doesn't know how they can earn money, but they need money from their people. So they just close their eyes and sell it. And whatever and however you earn money, if you can buy this one, that's okay. So this is very complicated system. Even I was from North Korea, but I couldn't understand. But yeah, it is functioning right now.
Yeah.
Let me add one sentence.
Sure.
So we need to better mapping how the smartphone distribution, the locations. I probably think most smartphones are condensed in one area, like a Pyongyang and Wonsan, Chongqing, the big cities. So the people who live in big cities, they are doing market activity and also smuggling between China and North Korea. So they have some accumulated asset, but not like a big enough to purchase other electric devices. But the smartphones are essential, the business right now. So when they want to ship the things to other areas, they need to communicate. So now people are comfortable using smartphones communicators. So that's why people are now it's kind of trend, where smartphones and it's like they're the rich people.
It is one of the, like you said, one of the mysteries, especially when we first saw this. How are people who earn $2 or $3 a month buying $500 smartphones? I saw a photo from earlier this year from Pyongyang. They now have a folding smartphone that costs $2,000. So some people obviously can afford that, not many people, but there are some people that can do. It's one of the reasons why talking to people like you is valuable, because we can get more information and understand it more. I'm going to get to another question from the room in a second, but there is a related question which kind of talks about this. They're talking about the reports that we hear about the punishment that people get in North Korea for possessing foreign videos. Sometimes we're heard that there are public executions. Sometimes we're heard that people got told off. Why is there such a varying degree of reports? Does it depend on the time of the year? Does it depend on where you are? Does it depend on the type of content? How can you can you give any examples of maybe times when you might get in more trouble than less, or something like that?
So it is exactly depends on their law. After 2020, North Korean regime made a very strict law to get against like the people who are watching South Korean dramas. So according to the law, like for example, me, if I only watch a South Korean drama, then I could be arrested for more than 5 years. But if I spread it to my colleagues, or if I sell it for benefit, then it is more than 50 years, or in some cases, public execution. So they made this law in 2020, and the paradox is, like after COVID, Kim Jong-un tried to close all the doors, and he wanted to return to the 1980s, like when North Korean authority controlled everything, and when all the people listen their like orders very well and very loyal with loyalty. But the fact is, even they made so many like tragic law to stop the younger generation, but they didn't listen. So in 2023, they made another law to like to protect the Pyongyang. What is the Pyongyang like?
Pyongyang.
Anti-reactionary thought.
No, there's the Pyongyang cultural.
Yeah, cultural language protect something.
Yes.
So why they made this law? Even the previous law was so strong because the younger generation didn't follow their order, so they have to show them like, hey, if you don't listen our orders, and if you don't follow our like orders, then you're gonna be punished more. You're going to be punished more and more.
Yeah.
So in 2023, they made a law, and according to the law, if you use South Korean accent in your daily dialogue, you can be arrested in 6 years. It's ridiculous, right? But their reaction showed us that they are really, really fearing about younger generations, like departing from the North Korean government. So yeah.
I would say definitely related to content and also the system, how the incident was reported to the central party. So content is more like if you access or watch anti-Kim regime content, definitely this is a big punishment. And if you watch just casual dramas or news, it could be minor, the smaller punishment. And then the way of the incident delivered to the central body is so crucial. If this incident, I mentioned earlier, 200 kids were watching South Korean dramas, and it is reported to the central party, but all kids are elite kids, so they cannot punish all of them. But some cases, those punishment, real executions, this is more reported to the central party and Kim Jong-un's desk. So any executions, the authority that execution have is Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-un's office, not other than other people. So it's not the propaganda and agitation department cannot to execute people, or police cannot execute people, or a state security agency cannot. They have to be approved by the leadership on the top. So it is more like how this case is reported to Kim, and or let's report it the level. So
Right.
it is ended at the propaganda agitation level, or the OGD, Organization Guidance Department level, or Kim Jong-un's desk. So yeah.
I think there was something very similar just reported in Daily NK as well for another case that just came up. Yep.
I'd like to add one more sentence. There was like a certain times to like more inspections. I lived in border city, so we have like just regularly like a surprise inspections. Just the police officers came to our house, and then they just looking for something. They just open our closet, and also like open our like a basement or something like that, looking for someone, like if we hiding something, hiding someone from other area. So, and then like there were special like events like Kim Il Sung's birthday or Kim Jong Il's birthday, or like if there is like some events, like someone caught by like, or someone just were reported to central party, there will be more like inspections or more punishment, or like it's gonna be like a very strict atmosphere.
Right. Any questions in the room? Boy, many questions. We don't have much time. Let's one over here, and then yeah, you sir, and sitting down here as well.
And the back too.
Oh, and there's someone in the back as well. Yes. Why don't we hear the questions first, and then we'll do all the answers together because we're running out of time.
Yeah. So thank you very much for having this opportunity. My name is Suyong Kim from Japanese newspaper Mainichi Shimbun, and I was just wondering about how people in North Korea perceive Kim Jong Un's daughter Kim Joo-ae. And do they believe she will be the next leader? And also, do you think she will be successfully manage and control the North Korean regime? Thank you.
All right, let's do the next couple of questions as well.
Yes, hi, I'm Robert Bloom. Following your comment about the Chinese model and more open economy, at least if North Korea could aspire to that. Now, I'd like your comment on my follow-up to that, which was Kim and Xi Jinping came to power at about the same time, 2011, 2012. For the first 8 years, there was no direct communication. One of the problems was face keeping. You have a seniority system in both countries, but you suddenly have a young leader, and it doesn't look good for China. It's sort of a come down for Xi to be seen as an equal to Kim. So they gave him time to mature and so on. But come 2018, they get together. Kim comes to Beijing. She hosts a big reception. Now, there were goings on in Chinese domestic policy. So during those first 8 years, online, Chinese will laugh at North Korea, talk about little fatty. That was Kim Jong-un, little fatty, little fatso. But since 2008, at least, the Chinese government seems to have reversed things entirely, whereby North Korea seems to be the model now for China. And my hypothesis is that she decided to overcome that protocol issue of disparity in age, because China now is asking Korea, how can we become more like you? How can we tighten up? How can we do the surveillance? How can we get the state back more into the economy? Now, so I just, wanted your comment on this, that there is a change in the, openness of the Chinese economy regarding North Korea.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's a lady here too. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I'm Diane Perlman. I'm a political psychologist and in the process of founding an Institute for Conflict Transformation inspired by the work of Johann Galtung, Transcend US. So anyway, my question has to do with, I guess, openings for improvement and face-saving way out. And so one is I was interested in the daughter and that there's building momentum in the inside and out that he has to deal with. So one is his daughter have any opening, any potential to be more open? And I also remember the sunshine policy and the Olympics. So are there any creative ways of reducing tension and opening things up, face saving?
Thank you very much. And I think, is there one more?
No.
Did you have a question as well? You did, yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing all of your experiences. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how over time the degree of smuggling has changed, and also how the system continues to survive.
Great.
Or how the smuggling system continues to survive, rather.
We don't have much time, so
Yeah.
quick answers. But yeah, I think we got 2 votes for Kim Jue, so let's start with her.
Yeah. Okay. So may I speak to China problem first, and then I want Kim.
Sure. Go
Kim
ahead.
Yo
Go ahead.
answer. They came both the stage same time. I agree, and I can agree with you more because China is more trying to, think or trying to be like North Korea, more controlling using the technology. But the beginning that they have some disagreement. So Chinese leadership visited South Korea first. It's very non-traditional. They should visit North Korea in the past. They did. So Kim was mad at Xi Jinping about that, and because of that, for 6 years they didn't communicate. But there was a maximum pressure from the U.S. and they wanted to lift the sanctions. But lift the sanction, which means that China should make a critical role, do critical role here. So someone advised Kim to meet Xi Jinping. So that's why Kim went to Xi Jinping, even though they dislike each other. So that how happened in the past. But China also throughout the 4 meetings, Xi Jinping told Kim Jong-un that you should do openness and reform, and Kim replied that we won't follow Chinese leadership, Chinese examples, but Kim never kept the promises, so he didn't. So that's the now story. But now Kim, from the beginning, he wants to make more relationship with Russia than China. So they still like very distant relationship. They dislike each other. And one more important key factor here is China they were very angry at the execution of Chiang Kai-shek, who was trying to push North Korea's economic reform and openness. So that's why now it's the relationship, it's more cold.
Thank you very much.
Kim Jue.
Kim Jue?
First of all, I think we should differentiate about the probability of Kim Joo-ae could be a next successor in North Korea, and how North Korean people now like react about like Kim Joo-ae's kind of activities following his father's. The first, yeah, I think there is some probability and possibility about like Kim Joo-ae could become a next successor, and in my own like perspective, this is unreasonable. This is very unreasonable. Like not only my perspective, but if like just imagine if I am the like decision maker in North Korea, it is still unreasonable because North Korea is kind of very like manned, like something like yeah, dominant society, and this tradition has a long history in North Korea. Even Kim Joo-ae is, if Kim Joo-ae is one of the only one daughter or one just child, but I think Kim Jong-un has many children, but I couldn't understand why in this time, in this moment, Kim Jong-un tried to like push her as a next successor because she's only 15, maybe 14 or 15. And even Kim Jong-un teach his daughter a lot of times and too many things about like leadership or other how to control the army, blah, blah, blah. But in like people's in generals and in officials' perspective in North Korea, why? Why? And why? Because Kim Jong-un looked like healthy. Yeah, many people, include me, pray that like Kim Jong-un have something problem in their health. But in fact, Kim Jong-un is healthy right now. And he has energy and he has enough power to control all of the like country. But like so I mean like there is no any other specific reason why Kim Jong-un tried to push her and like point her as his successor. So like unreasonable things follow to like many other prediction, like unnecessary prediction in North Korea, like maybe Kim Jong-un has a problem, or maybe Kim Jong-un feels fear about his health, or maybe Kim Jong-un doesn't have any other son. So this kind of unsafe thinkings and imaginations make Kim Jong-un's regime weak. That's my opinion. And the second point is if Kim Joo-ae really becomes a next successor in North Korea, then this is the time that like North Korea collapse. Yeah, I strongly believe that because Kim Joo-ae doesn't have enough like what is the legitimacy, and they have Kim Yo-jong. Because if Kim Joo-ae, if daughter and if woman become a supreme leader in North Korea, why Kim Yo-jong cannot? Because Kim Yo-jong also a daughter of Kim Jong-il, and she has a lot of experience of controlling and power in North Korea for almost 1 decade. So Kim Yo-jong also can think I can become next supreme leader in North Korea, like Suyang Daegun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And do you want to talk about the last question because you lived right on the border, so probably
Okay.
were influenced a lot by the smuggling.
Okay. I hope the smuggling can, like drive more than now because it's getting worse. I heard that one of my friends lives in North Korea. She called me like 2 years ago, and then she said the smuggling business is getting worse because the North Korean government already installed the electric fence along the yellow side. So they set the time like people get in the Yellow River for the water, and then also like laundry. So it's really hard to access to the river. And then Kim Jong-un ordered like to the military soldiers, like if you see someone just try to cross the river, you can just kill them immediately without any reports. So it's really sad. And then the North Korean government also developed the radar to detect North Korean smugglers to contact the outside of North Korea, like people in South Korea, and then also the smugglers in China. So it's really sad, and then it's getting worse and worse.
And the last question from the lady, like the sunshine policy, right? So your question is, sunshine policy could decrease the sensitive between North and South. Is your question right?
No tension.
Tensions, yeah.
Are there any possibilities you can imagine creative strategies they can bring out?
Okay, yeah.
Reduce tension?
I'm gonna respond that very briefly.
Yep.
So we don't need to imagine because we already did in 15 years, like from the administration of Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun and Moon Jae-in and now Lee Jae-myung. Yeah, like we did in 20 years and in another 15 years, like in conservative administration, we did different like a strategy and we did different policy, like a little bit more like principle and like relational, not only one-way support. So I experienced all those policies in Korean Peninsula, and as a politics researcher and as international researcher, I think the sunshine policy has a very clarified result now. So when North Korean government tried to develop their nuclear power, when did they start? It depends on like scholars' perspective different. Yeah, it could be different like based on your argument and based on your experience and based on your research. But in common sense, they developed their nuclear power from like 1990, like late 1990s, and they like start their program in 2000s. So during Kim Dae-jung administration and Roh Moo-hyun administration, they did their first nuclear test in 2006 during the Roh Moo-hyun administration. And like, for example, in 2020 to 2002, the relation between Kim Dae-jung administration and Kim Jong-il administration was really good. In 2000, like June 15, they had a very great agreement between North and South. But after 2 years, they suddenly attacked South Korean's marine in the West Sea, and like 6 South Korean soldiers murdered by the North Korean regime during the World Cup period. So what this result showed us, like North Korean regime, they don't care about their South Korean policy as like sunshine policy or strict policy. They didn't care about that. They only cares about their domestic politics and domestic strategy. So when they need something support and when they need some like a kind relationship for their strategy, they can pretend. They can pretend to be like be kind, and then like they can pretend that like say, yeah, we are ready to talk. But in fact, when their strategy changes, like in Moon Jae-in administration, they can change their face very fastly. Like in 2019, Moon Jae-in went to Pyongyang and they shake hands and hold hands in Baekdu Mountain and in front of like millions of Pyongyang people. And people in Pyongyang, they thought like, oh, the unification very close. But after 1 year, in 2020, they demolished the building in Kaesong without any other reasonable reason. So yeah.
Thank you very much. It seems like we're just getting cooking on this subject, but we are over time. Thank you for coming today. I think if you're in the room, then maybe you can stick around afterwards and ask a couple of questions you didn't get a chance to ask. But before we go, I'd like to thank our 3 panelists today. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you for coming to Stimson today.